Now, will you notice verse 9? We're still dealing with this mother's side, and we'll get down to the father's side in just a moment. For ye remember, brethren, our labor and travail. And it's the mother that travails, you know. And Paul says, our labor and travail, for laboring night and day, because we would not be chargeable unto any of you, we preached unto you the gospel of God. Now, he is laboring night and day. Now, that's a mother for you. What is a man's work is from sun to sun, but a woman's work or a mother's work is never done. A mother is not a paid nurse, and Paul is saying he wasn't a paid nurse who worked by the hour. He wasn't a babysitter. He did not belong to a union. And I've often wondered today with all this women's lib, why don't they organize the mothers and get a union for the mothers? I recommend that. And maybe the mothers could get a union where they'd work 8 hours, then turn the children over to the father for 8 hours, and then turn them over to the neighbors for the next 8 hours. You might work out something like that. You want to know something? I don't think mothers would buy that, because mothers work a little differently. I heard this story several years ago up in New England when they had all the cotton mills, or many of them up there. There were 2 girls that worked in a cotton mill, and one of them quit, and these 2 didn't see each other until several years later, 2 or 3 years later. They met on a street in a city that was nearby, and the girl that had quit, why, the other one said to her, "What are you doing now? You still working?" And she said, "No, I'm not working. I'm married." She said, "Married?" Asked the other, "Are you working?" She said, "Yes, I'm still working at the mill." And so she said to her, "You're married? Tell me about your husband." "Oh," she says, "I not only have a husband, but I have a little boy." And she's told about how wonderful it was that she'd met him, and that at first she'd fix his lunch and get up early of a morning, throw arms around him, and when he came home in the afternoon, she'd be there at the door to open it and throw arms around him again and fix his dinner. And then this little fella came along. And by the way, when you get home of an evening and a voice way back in the house somewhere says, "Is that you?" then you know the honeymoon is over, friends. That's when it's over. Well, anyway, this young couple now, they had a little baby, and she was telling about the 3 o'clock feeding, and the other woman says, "Well, when you worked in the mill, I remember how you used to watch the clock. When that 5 o'clock whistle blew, you were out of there." She said, "Yes, but don't watch the clock now, because I'm working really longer hours." She said, "I thought you weren't working." "Oh," she says, "it really didn't work." It didn't work anymore. Why? Because she's motivated now by love. And that's what Paul is saying here. I work night and day. I don't belong to a union. I'm not paid. I'm not a hired hand. A man told me one time, he was a member of the church. He asked me to go see somebody. He says, "You're paid to do that." Well, you know what? I told him, "You go see him. You are not paid. You probably do a better job than I do, because we are not to do the Lord's work on that kind of basis." That really put that fellow in an awkward position. And you know, he had to make that call. He never said that to me again, I can assure you that. May I say to you, Paul was this kind of a nursemaid, and he was a nursemaid. A lot of pastors are